Then versus now trigger discrimination is a core memory-focused technique that is used in cognitive therapy for PTSD. It is used to reduce the chance that stimuli that patients encounter in everyday life will automatically trigger trauma memories. There are many stimuli that patients encounter in everyday life that can have some resemblance, such as visual similarities, sounds, smells, tastes, and sensations, to some things that were present in their trauma and can act as triggers. As well as obvious reminders, trauma memories can also be triggered by stimuli that only share a sensory feature, for example, a color, sound, or body movement with the traumatic event. Such triggers can be hard for patients to spot initially, requiring joint detective work by therapists and patients. Sometimes when trauma memories are triggered, patients don't remember the event, but only re-experience the same strong emotions such as intense fear, anger, sadness, or shame, or body sensations such as pain or nausea. Then versus now trigger discrimination aims to break the link between triggers for intrusive memories in the present and the past trauma. The therapist and patient work together to spot triggers that reactivate the patient's trauma memory. They then work together to break the link that is formed between the triggers now and the memory then by focusing on all the ways the trigger is different to the memory. Then versus now trigger discrimination can be carried out effectively with patients remotely in a similar way as in face-to-face therapy and is acceptable to patients. You'll find a more detailed video of carrying out then versus now trigger discrimination on our AUX-CADAT resources website. In this video, we'll demonstrate how to carry out then versus now trigger discrimination with patients remotely using a video conferencing platform. In this therapy excerpt, the therapist is working with a patient who has had a bike accident. The therapist and patient have previously worked with a trigger that reactivated the patient's trauma memory in her everyday life and drawn out similarities and differences. For example, seeing a man ride his bike when the patient was walking in the evening triggered the memory of her bike accident. With the help of the therapist, the patient was able to spot that seeing the man on his bike was a trigger, and then the similarities and differences between the trigger and her accident, and wrote these out. In this therapy excerpt, the therapist works with a new trigger. She has already sourced triggers for the session, given the rationale for then versus now, and practice using then versus now together. The therapist and patient are using then versus now to work on an audio trigger of the trauma memory, the sound of screeching brakes. Sasha, when you're ready, can you press play?
Yeah, okay.
What just happened?
Yeah, just the noise of brakes. Really similar to the noise at the accident.
Yeah, lots of similarities. I wonder if we could focus on the differences to really break the link between this trigger and the trauma memory.
Yeah. So that was just an audio file clip on the computer, and it's not a real car. It's not the car that hit me.
Excellent. What else? Who's in control now?
So I'm in control of that sound. I can stop it. I can turn the volume down. And I wasn't in control then. I wasn't in control during the accident.
And are you safe now?
Yeah, I'm safe now. I'm in my home. I'm not out on the road. I'm not hurt now. I'm not in danger now. So it's different. It's a different situation.
And can you show yourself you're not hurt now? Shall we stand up just to put weight on your leg that was injured at the time and show that you can move around?
Yeah. So I can stand on my ankle now. It's not broken. It's not hurt anymore. And yeah, I can see where I am. I'm in my spare room, and yeah, I'm safe.
Excellent. Okay, well done. Why don't you sit back down? I'm just going to ask a few more questions.
Okay.
Well done. As you were focusing on the differences then, Sasha, how much did it feel like the trauma was happening again now out of 100, where 100 is very much so and 0 is not at all?
When I was focusing on the differences, maybe about 30.
And how distressing did the trauma memory feel as you were focusing on the differences out of 100, where 100 is very distressing and 0 is not at all?
Yeah, much less distressing when I focused on the differences. Probably about 20.
Excellent. Well done. What does this tell you about what might be helpful to do when triggers bring back to mind memories from the trauma?
Yeah, I've just got to really focus on everything that's different about them, and yeah, sort of work on breaking that link between those reminders and the trauma.
Excellent. Well done. After the therapist and patient have worked with the trigger, the therapist has taken ratings of nowness and distress. These ratings help the therapist to gauge how effective focusing on the differences has been in beginning to break the link between then and now. The ratings also give clues about whether or not the patient may have been engaging in a process the therapist could not see, such as avoiding looking at the trigger. Over the next few weeks, the patient spotted more triggers and practiced the discrimination technique. For example, she noticed feeling very panicky when drying her hair. Discussion helped her realize that the air blowing in her face was similar to wind in her face while riding the bicycle just before the accident. In the session, she briefly blew air in her face with her hairdryer. This triggered the panicky feeling and allowed her to practice then versus now discrimination. For more information on using then versus now with trauma triggers, please see our trigger discrimination video and our CT PTSD guidance for conducting memory work remotely on the COVID-19 section of our resources page at oxcadetresources.com. For videos on how to deliver CT PTSD, please register to access the full Ox Cadet Resources website at oxcadetresources.com.